Talk to me,
Welcome to Purpose Wednesday. I'm Coach Latasha S. Morgan, and I'm here to help you unlock your true potential.
Hi there, and welcome to Purpose Wednesday. I'm Latasha Morgan, certified Christian life coach, certified professional life coach, board certified master Christian mental health coach, and a whole lot of other goodies, y'all. I've had an amazing day, and I pray that you have had an amazing day as well. I also pray that every day to come is even greater and more amazing than the one before. It's Purpose Wednesday again. You know it is our second Purpose Wednesday of the year. And if I haven't spoken to you, Happy New Year to you all. Listen, our title for today is When God Confirms Before You're Ready. There are moments when God confirms something in your life and you don't feel qualified to carry it out. Not because you're rebellious, you're not being disobedient. It's just simply not because you're lazy, but because you're human. I'm human. We all do it because we're all human, and we don't really believe that what God has said we can do, we can do. He's confirmed you before you are ready to do what he's confirmed you for. Before we continue in this moment, I want to share the definitions for confirm, before, ready, ratify, and sanction. Because like I said, the title of this show tonight is When God Confirms Before You're Ready. Confirm means to verify, to strengthen, to ratify, to ratify means to give formal sanction to. Sanction means authoritative approval, a penalty intended to enforce compliance, to authorize. Before means earlier, previously, ahead of, prior to, in front of, under the consideration of, in preference to, in advance of the time, when, sooner than. Ready means prepared or available, willing. Now, those definitions come from the 1991 Webster's 2 dictionary. I like old dictionaries because I like the old meanings of the words. But let's continue. Gideon is someone I believe that understands what it is to be for God to confirm you before you're ready. Gideon, before he even thought of himself as mighty, God called him mighty. Gideon thought of himself as the least of his father's house. From being a farmer from the tribe of Manasseh, he thought of himself as the least of his father's house. Isn't that how some of us feel? We feel the least, we feel a little smaller than everyone else. That everyone else around us is greater, but God sees you as mighty. He sees you as victorious, even when you see yourself as defeated. In Judges chapter 6, we find Gideon at the winepress. Israel for 7 years has been oppressed by the Midianites, the Amalekites, and the children of the east, all because of their disobedience. We find here that Gideon is trying to preserve, and he's at the winepress threshing wheat simply because he's trying to preserve the little that they have, so that the Amalekites wouldn't get it, what they have, the wheat he was threshing, right? So in this moment, Israel's economy is broken. Safety is gone. The confidence crushed. And Gideon, he's not on the prayer battlefield fighting. He's not in a prayer meeting, but he is simply hiding. Did you notice in Judges chapter 6, verse 12, when I read it to you, that God, the Lord called Gideon mighty, a mighty man of valor, and he haven't even fought the war yet. Gideon hasn't even found out what he's supposed to do yet. But God still called him mighty. a mighty man of value. Not after his courage shows up, not after the victory is won, but before Gideon knew anything, God knew all things. God isn't waiting for you to do the work before he confirms who you are. He doesn't need you to see the evidence of it because he's already seen it. He already knows. Remember last week we talked about God's ways and his thoughts are higher than our ways and thoughts. And we can't even comprehend or understand or imagine the things that he thinks. We can't imagine or comprehend his ways because they are greater. In this moment, God is seeing Gideon past what Gideon sees. He sees him already as a mighty man of valor because he already knows what Gideon is capable of. God already knows what you're capable of because he's already placed everything in you that you need, honey. You got this thing. We know that Gideon doesn't even get what God is saying. Because he says this, instead of celebrating God calling him a mighty man of valor, he says in Judges chapter 6, verse 13, God, are you serious right now? You're with me. But look what's going on around me here. We're going through poverty. The Midianites are against us. They're fighting us. We barely had, I just had to hide and thresh wheat at the winepress because I want to hide this food so I can have food for my family. Are you serious right now? But you're with us. But all of this has befallen us. Now, see, Gideon isn't looking at the reason they're in the situation that they're in. It's because of their disobedience. It's because of serving God and Baal. It's trying to serve God and other gods as well. Disobedience caused their downfall, caused the situation, the poverty that they're in. Gideon is so busy looking at his moment, his present, when God is busy looking at his future. Which one are you looking at? Let's continue. I just want that to sink in. What are you looking at right now? Are you looking at your present moment and what's going on around you instead of hearing what God has already called and said to you? Judges chapter 6 verse 15 says, and he said unto him, O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. He doesn't deny God, but he continues to deny. He denies himself. He does not believe who he is or what God can do. He's only focused on his moment right now. Here's a revelation for today. God does not revoke the call because Gideon feels unqualified. Gideon feels unqualified, but God doesn't revoke the call. Instead, God just responds with his presence and says, surely I will be with thee. Just because you feel unqualified does not mean that God removes the call, but he just confirms to you that he's going to be with you and do what he said he'll do. But we find here, as we continue on in Judges chapter 6, we find that God continues to confirm Gideon. He asked Gideon to tear down his father's altar to Baal. He has to face his household, right? He has to first tear down the altar of his own house, okay? And he has to lead, even though he doesn't feel strong. That's leadership, going in and tearing down what's in your house first. That's not like God, right? So then Gideon asked for signs. He asked for the fleece. Then he asked for the fleece again. And God doesn't shame her or anything. He just does it. And he continues to confirm Gideon because confirmation is not an absence of fear. It is the permission to move with fear. Judges chapter 7 proves this even further. God reduces the army from 32,000 to 300 so that Israel doesn't get the glory, but he does. And it is not based on Gideon's self-sufficiency, but God's confirmation. So Judges chapter 7, verses 9 through 11, you find that God tells Gideon to go down to the enemy's camp just to listen, just to make sure that Gideon knows that God is going to do the work. God lets Gideon overhear a confirmation from the enemy's mouth himself, because sometimes God will confirm you again just so you know he hasn't changed his mind. And that because you need courage to catch up with your calling. Gideon teaches us that being confirmed does not mean you feel ready. Being chosen does not mean you feel brave. Being called does not mean you stop needing reassurance. Gideon's story is about bravery, but also is about confirmation under fear. His story shows us that God confirms identity and calling even before confidence develops in us. So obedience does not depend on our own personal readiness, but on God's presence. I want you to think, reflect for just a moment. What has God already confirmed that you keep postponing because you don't feel ready? I want to say that again. I want you to think about, reflect on what God has already confirmed that you keep postponing because you simply don't feel ready. Then take one obedient step this week in the area that God has already spoken about. No more waiting for confidence. Understand that God's confirmation is enough for your next step. Have a good night. Thank you so much for watching Purpose Wednesday. It's been a pleasure to speak with you this night. And I'll talk with you again next week on Purpose Wednesday. Have a good night. And again, thank you so much for watching.